this is your host Katie with Dark Humors of IT. Thanks for tuning in for another episode this week. So last week we left off with a little saying, my Wi-Fi stopped working, and then suddenly I realized my neighbors have not paid the bill. How irresponsible people are. So last week we talked about software development lifecycle, methodologies for upgrading your software, and tips on making the implementation successful. And for this week, we're going to talk through some common pain points that small businesses endure. What are some of the top reasons that businesses fail? And what are the commonly overlooked issues that your business might be facing? So running a successful business is difficult. It certainly isn't for the faint of heart. And successful business owners need to be able to mitigate risk quickly while also bringing a product or service to consumers within their demand and budget. Safeguarding your business should be the top priority, and to do that, we need to understand what some of those risks are that will cause you to fail. In doing some research and looking at many different articles and papers, I've tallied up the results to come out with my 5 most talked about pain points that all businesses face, and most that they face without even realizing it. 1 being financial hurdles, 2 cybersecurity, 3 difficulties within your team, 4 poor business planning and processes, 5 hiring practices. So number 1, financial hurdles, being wasted resources, poor management of cash flow. Management of cash flow. Most businesses are fairly familiar with the amount of money that is cycling out of the business each month, whether it's payroll, supplies, overhead, expenses, or outside vendors. Shockingly enough, very few of them know the amount of revenue that's cycling in from their sales department. Seems obvious how this could cause your business to fail quickly. Another reason is that you try to keep your product or service too low or too competitive for too long, and your overhead exceeds your revenue. Funny enough that this too is an often occurrence that is overlooked within the day-to-day operations. So do your research to find out what's the competitive pricing and what's feasible for your market and your product. So waste. Waste can be a combination of many things. Material, time, knowledge, technology. Material waste could be rework on jobs, rejections from quality assurance, resulting in rework, material loss, and idle inventory that isn't being used. Time waste could consist of the time being put into rework, duplicated efforts, working the same projects, poor planning, bottlenecks in your processes, or lack of clear roles and responsibilities. Knowledge waste consists of trying to reinvent the wheel, poor awareness of inventory, or no clear direction of goals and complacency. Technology waste consists of unused licenses, failed technology, poor training, or technology not being utilized. On an individual level, these issues generally fly under the radar and don't get addressed. Collectively, these issues or wastes can add up over time. Number 2, cybersecurity. Cybersecurity has become more important than ever, especially in the recent years. A couple examples of what we're talking about would be confidential information, data breaches, hijacked domains, or training employees. So confidential information. As you have employees cycling through your company, it's super important to remember that they've all had access to, and removing that access to their different applications immediately. Sometimes a breach could be harmless, or sometimes it could be very malicious. Changing your passwords regularly is an important regimen to put in place to prevent a breach. Data breaches, where hackers gain access to your company's financial and confidential information through a breach. This has become very popular over the years. Having good antivirus and anti-malware software on all devices, in addition to having a firewall set up, are all good preventers in preventing a data breach. Hijack domains. Another way cyber criminals attack you is that they take over your domain and seize control over your website, hacking into your hosting account and redirecting your web traffic to malicious sites. Criminals are very diligent in watching when your domain is about to expire so they can swoop in and take it for themselves. So being sure to keep track of when your domain expires so you can stay on top of that is extremely important. And lastly, training employees. So training your employees on how to prevent cybersecurity attacks is huge. An approach should be developed that integrates protection in each aspect of your business, from the IT department to training. Train employees on how to identify malicious and spam emails or who to report it to. Training will alleviate the threats by stopping them before they occur. So we're all very familiar with seeing a malicious email and clicking the link and then realizing that it was spam. So the idea of training behind that is to identify that email before your employees click on the link and then report it to your IT department. Number 3, poor business planning and processes. So 3 of these top items would be uncontrolled growth, lack of forecasting or planning, and lack of performance monitoring. So uncontrolled growth, with small businesses, it can be common to experience uncontrolled growth, which in plain sight is a good thing, right? Because long term, you must watch when your business expenses surpass your revenue, leaving you short on cash and push your business into debt. It can jeopardize quality over quantity, leaving your employees being burnt out as well. Lack of forecasting. Lack of forecasting and accounting for downward trends, slow seasons, or economic downturns that can put your business at risk. Planning and forecasting is extremely important, and incorporating both long-term and short-term goals is essential when planning for your business. Lack of performance monitoring. While there is no one way to measure how well your company is doing, you can check on all of your employees and how they're doing. A company's profitability could experience a decline without you knowing the root cause. And if you don't monitor your performance at the company and employee level, you don't know how it's doing. Number 4, technology. So the 3 most comprised pieces of technology would be delegate and automate, update and upgrade, and data. So delegate and automate, streamline your processes as much as you can. It's super important in cutting costs and saving valuable time over resources. Update and upgrade your technology. So as I've talked about on my last 2 episodes, if you haven't checked them out, please do. One being on retiring your legacy applications and then also implementing new ones. Don't keep your old software and hardware just because you're no longer paying for it. So even though on the books it appears that it's an asset, you may be dumping way more money into stale processes than just updating or upgrading your technology. Data. You are producing huge amounts of data throughout your business. So in episodes 4 and 5 of my podcast, I've touched on the importance of reporting, how costly too much and bad data can cost you, among cleaning your data and regular routine maintenance to keep your data clean. So this is another fine example of the importance of utilizing the data that you're producing, but don't overkill on the data that you're looking at. And number 5, one of the most important in my opinion, and that is hiring practices. So 4 key topics here are top talent, knowing when to hire, employee satisfaction, and poor management. Top talent. Hiring the right people to do the job is always a big challenge. Small businesses especially struggle because they're unable to afford the specialized talent that they need, and it's even more of a costly process to find a quality fit. One important tip to remember is that you shouldn't worry about finding talent that's willing to work, but finding the right talent that will help you grow and scale your business. So when hiring new employees, think about the long term, not the short term, right? Quantity over quality is a prime example when hiring employees. Don't just hire a body to stick a body in a position. Hire somebody who is going to help you grow and innovate your processes and scale your business ultimately. So knowing when to hire. 70% of businesses do not have a hiring plan and have no idea how many people they will need to hire in the next 12 months. 50% of those claim that they will not need to hire at all and don't anticipate the need with growth or any attrition. When considering the need to hire, remember that only 30% of the professionals are actually unhappy with their jobs, while 56% of the workforce is seeking better work and home life balance, benefits, and compensation. So those are really large numbers of the professionals that are not in need of a new position and are going to be more selective. So now would be the time to think about what sets you apart from the other companies that they're looking at, and how to better compensate for your benefits and what you bring to the table versus high conglomerate corporations. So on that note, employee satisfaction is built on 4 crucial pillars. 1 being feedback, 2 being culture, 3 satisfaction, and 4 is tenure. So employees are your walking billboards of your business. Satisfying those 4 pillars is the key to keeping happy and productive employees long term. And it's super important that you have employee buy-in and foster a culture that they can buy into. It's also important to spend money on developing your employee, gathering their feedback, their wants, and ensuring that they're happy and productive. Which brings us to poor management. So management of your employees is crucial. Too often we see overwhelmed managers in small businesses that don't have the time to manage their people. Being unable to manage the people means that you probably lack the foresight on how poor performance affects the bottom line. So while hiring employees may not seem like it's a big deal, once you get one rotten egg, it can spoil the whole basket. So ruining that basket involves putting a huge dent in morale, productivity, and can cause for more issues or errors, which in turn causes for high marginal error and affects the bottom line. Team members tend to have more responsibilities when working for a smaller business, so they can do more damage by affecting the larger group or even just having a bad employee in general. When that employee leaves, others are left to pick up the slack, which can cause management resentment, burnout, and low morale. So these are the 5 most talked about issues that I found while researching this topic. Now we know about some of the common issues, but here's a quick way to problem solve and develop a strategy that you should use to mitigate those issues. Number 1, identify the problem. 2, determine all contributing factors. 3, ensure the problem is contained. 4, discover the underlying cause. 5, brainstorm possible solutions. 6, create an action plan. 7, audit the results. And 8, don't make adjustments too quickly. So identifying the problem. You obviously need to be aware of the issue and acknowledge that it is an issue. And then to determine all contributing factors, you find out where, when, and how the problem occurs and talk to those who are involved. Ensuring the problem is contained. To avoid the issue causing further damage, implement a short-term solution. Discovering the underlying cause. So work with your team to determine what that root cause is. And then brainstorming possible solutions, right? So we discuss the possible solutions and how the issue could be better or how it could have been avoided. And then we create the action plan. So once you found an appropriate solution, we develop a plan to put it into action. And then you audit the results, right? This is monitoring your fix to make sure that there are no further issues. Don't make adjustments too quickly. So if a problem reoccurs, don't automatically remove the fix that you put in place. Review it and make sure that something else was not the culprit. And then follow steps 1 through 8 all over again. So this is all the time that I have for today. Thanks for tuning in on the most 5 talked about issues and that all businesses face and how to propose a strategy to fix those issues. If you feel that you're having issues but you don't know where to start, don't worry. You're not alone, and that's okay. We're here to help. So I've talked a little bit more about these 5 issues in depth. So again, please check out my blog on ConsilaTex.com/blogs. And if you have any questions on what we talked about today, or you want to reach out on something more specific, please shoot me an email at darkhumorsofit@gmail.com and let's talk about it. Otherwise, let's talk about a topic that I can feature in a future episode. So for my little saying this week, you guys, I leave you with, I tried to say I'm a functional adult, but my phone changed it to fictional adult. Damn autocorrect. And I feel like that's more accurate. I think we've all felt this way a time or two, and that's okay. We're all getting through this together. So thanks so much for tuning in this week, you guys. Till next time.